I'm back. I should be back. You just refresh. That was my bad. I bumped something. I went to the pause button and I hit the stop stream button. So that tells me I need to move those buttons farther apart from each other. Sorry. My bad.
Bring no recourse for people who want to play that game.
I'm sure I was gonna make some kind of additional comment about the video we are currently watching by Ackman. Streamer hates us, pushes button, confirms. No! It's just that they're under each other. Like, okay, so the top button is the start streaming button. The button underneath that is pause video, play video, and the button under that is the start streaming screen. I hope you get hit by a PBB drone is the equivalent. Oh, of like saying good luck or saying break a leg. I hope you're okay. Anyway.
Maybe now, maybe somewhere down the line,
Gonna
and then
move that button
offering
right
no
now.
recourse for the player.
Is this good for the player?
And here's the phrase that really scares corporations, okay? Make sure you don't repeat this anywhere, okay? It's very offensive, all right? If buying isn't owning, piracy isn't stealing.
Yes. 100%. I totally agree with that. I don't think that's a hot take at all. In fact, I feel like that's a lukewarm take. As someone who grew up watching the "you wouldn't download a pizza" ads, oh, I forgot to switch off of starting soon. Fuck. Oh my god, I'm so bad at this. What's the sound I got? I was like, for when I mess up.
All of this just works.
I would very much download a car. Thank you very much. Yeah, now that 3D printers are a thing. Wouldn't download a pizza. Yeah, I actually would.
It's important to note that Stop Killing Games is not retroactive. It is not unreasonable. It would not force every developer to turn on the servers for every dead game and keep them running indefinitely. Who's gonna do that for our boy Concord? Is the team that made Mag... Do I have Mag?
Not Concord.
Is the team that made Mag gonna have a high school reunion? This might actually be like a completely dead game. Is this playable in any way? Let me know in the comments. PlayStation Move? What the fuck? And you could make a whole ass video on why video game preservation is important. But let me just give you a personal example. There's a game called Command & Conquer Renegade, which, as far as I'm aware, nothing even comes close to its concept. It mixes RTS...
I've never played this game, but I've heard a lot of people talk about it.
...mechanics with first and third person shooter fundamentals. It would have been an utter tragedy if, when the GameSpy servers shut down, the game went with it. And here's where things are getting weird, because now I'm gonna give EA some props too. In a rare example of EA doing something good, they have allowed a team of passionate fans to resurrect Command & Conquer Renegade with their own free-to-play mod, Renegade X. You know, video games are a great escape for people, and there's something comforting knowing that one day, you know, you can go back and play something that you did years ago. Game preservation is important, and it's not just for random niche games.
Here's a list of some popular games that are all at risk of being destroyed at some time in the future. The Stop Killing Games movement sees any of these being destroyed as a problem, and they're exactly the kind.
This is scrolling a little fast. Example of games being destroyed. Stop Killing Games movement. Our stance. This is a problem. Pirate Software is based on his public comments. His stance. This is fine. EA's logic. If it ain't broke, fix it anyway. Sometimes.
Kinds of games that would start being protected if the initial.
I want EA to release SSX 3 and SSX World Tour on Steam, please. That's what I want. Fix.
All of this just works.
Should have passed.
There's no way to be against the Stop Killing Games movement in a way that is pro-consumer or pro-gamer. And if it ain't pro-gamer, then I'm a big hater. Stop Killing Games was stuck, around 400,000 signatures for months, and it seemed all hope was lost. Until now. Who deserves credit for this sudden resurgence? That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about Mr. Software. Now, unfortunately, Ross had done just about everything he could.
Anytime I hear stupendium, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong. It just works in my head. I'm usually another settlement needs your help kind of girl. Oh, almost hit a button and broke everything again.
Think of to
Somebody take away my stream.
push to get those 1 million signatures. And this guy is one hell of a diplomat. Very nice demeanor, passionate about games, doesn't really show any malice, hatred, contempt towards publishers or anyone. In fact, you'd be hard pressed to find anyone that could actively dislike a guy like Ross, let alone publicly.
Okay, I really don't want to do this next part, but it's become a liability for the campaign for me not to. Our biggest critic by far is YouTuber and streamer Pirate Software. If your only exposure to Stop Killing Games has been this video, then you've been misinformed. This video is
Chalk Eaters, not stupendium. I don't think I'm from. I don't know why my brain is not connecting it. Yeah, I for some reason it's not like clicking in my brain right now.
is by someone who does not understand the campaign, has been trying
But I'm also sucking at being a streamer today, so I'm surprised. I'm not surprised.
to stop it and has been making up what it is about.
Let's get scurvy, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get scurvy.
Let's get scurvy.
Pirate Software has been the most vocal, outspoken critic of the Stop Killing Games movement. Not only that, he has stated that he is actively...
If you search, it just works by the Chalk Eaters. Find it. No, that's not YouTube. Pirate Software's deaf an industry plan. I haven't seen enough of his stuff. Well, stop sucking. I can't. Not going any farther with that. I bet I'll hear it and I'll immediately be like, oh, yep.
Please welcome the game director of Bethesda Game Studios, Todd Howard.
No, we are gonna watch this Act-Man video, okay? We are gonna finish this.
seeking to convince people not to sign the initiative.
This is shit. Not only do I not want to back this, I'm going to actively tell people not to. That is awful. That is horrible.
Pirate Software has carefully crafted this persona of being a deep-voiced pro-gamer, pro-hacker, former developer, the everyday Cyberman. But most recently, some cracks have started to emerge. Most notoriously being his epic roach out in a hardcore WoW classic clip. In this heartbreaking moment, Pirate Software abandons his team, his sense of duty, and roaches out. Every man for himself, intentionally sabotaging his own efforts to assist his team by wasting mana on max level spells, not utilizing his toolkit. He fucked.
This is the most gamer call out I've seen. Period.
Up. You made a misplay. That's okay. It happens. Just say you're sorry, admit you fucked up, and help them grind back up the ladder. This is when the masks started to fall for people. My personal favorite quote from this.
Do you see my mana? What am I supposed to do for you?
If you were writing a narcissistic character, this is the perfect catchphrase.
Do you see my mana? What am I supposed to do for you?
Brother, help me!
What am I supposed to do for you?
Hey Dad, can you pass the salt? What am I supposed to do for you? So this kind of turned him into a lolcow because he made obvious mistakes and then pretended like he didn't. It's kind of weird, dude. But then it started to get weirder. You see, Pirate had been up to some other shenanigans, including filing a DMCA takedown on an indie game.
I'm sorry, I just had to point this out. I appreciate his pirate hat. I do understand it was probably made for toddlers. What confuses me the most is that it does fit on his head, but it's like not proportionate to like an actual pirate hat. So it's like it's bothering me. I just have to say it. I'm sorry.
Game that he thought used his voice and likeness. It's a fucking meme game called Idle Streaming Bonanza. It's a game that includes many streamers and basically just pokes fun at all of them. The thing of it is, there was no active build of the game with Pirate Software's voice. So when he filed a DMCA, he filed it maliciously and incorrectly. Not the first time we've dealt with someone who did that. Luckily, the act attorney is on vacation. Pirate was completely in the wrong, and I think it says something about a guy whose first reaction...
If it's not a 1600s era tricorn, it's not correct. I'm sorry. His head, it fits his head hole. But it just doesn't go up the sides high enough. Like, the sides aren't fanned out far enough, you know? They're too... It doesn't... I can't explain it.
To learning his voice has been used in a video game that is essentially just a shitpost is to immediately try and take it down. Like, who does that?
We're going to take you to court. You're going to lose. You cannot use somebody's likeness or
He sounds like Ethan Klein.
or voice in any way inside of your games without their permission. Welcome
Like with the whole lawsuit against the Twitch streamers.
to the finding out timeline, bud.
What am I supposed to do for you?
We're all on the internet. We all get made fun of on here.
As much as you're angry right now, of course I ran. Yeah, no, he was doing it maliciously and using my voice. Gloated about it all over Reddit.
And this post has, guess how many upvotes?
Why do they call him a roach?
27. What the creator of this game had done is just posted a clip on Reddit of what it would be like if Pirate Software was in the game.
And the only reason I'm fighting this is because he's removing my game from Steam when he's not on it. That's the issue I have with it. All the other issues I'm fine with.
Like, Pirate Software didn't even bother to check that he was actually in the game, or, I don't know, respond to this post and say, hey, can we talk? Can you take that out?
Yeah, it
like,
just escalated
you just went
immediately.
hard straight to DMCA.
He put it up on Steam and showed that my voice was going to be in it. And that's it.
But ever since that WoW clip, people have been going back and uncovering some things. Now, Ross, in his video, highlights every YouTuber and gaming news outlet that has covered Stop Killing Games, and he determined that Pirate Software's coverage was the most viewed. And it was 2 videos full of lies, just blatant misrepresentation of the movement and its goals, even going so far as to say the complete opposite of what was literally on his screen.
If you try to tell me that
Used my voice in a mocking tone, so I pulled out my gun and shot him. Why would he make me do this?
every studio needs to run their live service game indefinitely or not want to run one at all, then no one's going to run them.
Oh no! He wheeled out that line about publishers having to support the game forever. He was literally watching the video earlier where it says it won't.
Yeah, it's right there. It says endless support. Will not. This initiative would not will, sorry, my bad. Would not require publishers to give up intellectual property rights, require publishers to give up source code, require endless support.
Do that in big letters. That wasn't enough. We just can't stop gamers from going there, even when we spell it out. I admit, guys, this part hurts. To see the biggest voice on this issue get it wrong again and again and again, then put that same wrong information on blast to a far bigger audience than we can reach. It hurts.
Watch this, Lise. You can actually pinpoint the second when his heart rips in half.
He doesn't get it.
Oh.
He doesn't understand what we're asking for.
Look, it's one thing to disagree with a movement for whatever reason. It's okay to ask questions and seek clarification to make sure you should throw your support behind this thing, right? Thankfully, Ross has done such a thorough job that any and all questions...
Yeah, again, I just have to commend Ross because every time he explains something in his video, which I do highly recommend you go check it out, it answered any question I had. It explained it in a way that I understood it. And I am not the most educated individual. So I really appreciated the way that he communicated the necessity of this in a way that made me go, yes, I will. I will talk about this.
Any reasonable people have, he has answered. Not only has Pirate taken a firm stance against stop killing games, he has said he will actively try to make sure it doesn't succeed. This is generational hating.
Eat my entire ass. This shit sucks. That's a really stupid ass move. That's an incredibly stupid ass move. I think this is ass.
Actual villain type shit. But maybe that's exactly what we needed. We needed a bad guy to help galvanize us out of our fucking gaming chairs to sign something. Now, if you watch Ross's video and you listen to how Pirate Software talks, it's pretty clear who the aggressor is, who is the dick.
This is complete garbage. All of this can eat shit then. I dropped the mask entirely. I have no qualm.
Was it even there to begin with? Like, honestly, like, you've just done nothing but shit talk it since you started it. It's like he went into this hating it. Like, he was already like, yes, I have to talk bad about this. Okay, that does reaffirm the industry plant thing. Okay, I feel it now. I feel
about that.
I thought it was really funny when I posted this. What am I supposed to do for you? Just stop killing games? Would you believe Pirate Software blocked me after this? The Pirate has admitted that he has been ignoring this issue and the misinformation he spread for 10 months until he posted one of those "I ain't reading all of that" type tweets. For some reason, he deleted this. Let's read to see if...
I'm changing my icons on my pad so it's a little bit more noticeable where like the stop stream button is versus like the pause button. Making them different colors, and the fish one has a little fish emoji. I didn't even need to look at the video to see how long that post was to know that is exactly what he meant. You can take the game dev out of Blizzard, but you can't take the Blizzard out of the dev. Getting great facts today. Absolutely. This button.
We can find out why. I put out 2 videos disagreeing with your initiative 10 months ago and have...
Also, I really enjoy Actman's voice for Pirate Software because it's very different than his voice, but it's also kind of like an evil villain voice. Like, I'm here for it. I like it.
Haven't talked about it since. Now,
does he do voice acting?
Your initiative has failed, and you're blaming me for 33 minutes of the hour-long video covering it.
I'll have to check out more of his content. I subscribed. So, but I really enjoy content very much. And the voices. The hat, though, please, let me help you. You know what the issue is? There's no seam here. Okay? So because there's no seam here, there's no, like, give on the sides, right? So that's creating this kind of, like, skirt effect versus, like, for a pirate hat, whether you want it to be, like, full side to side or whatever, you need a little bit of a seam. It does look like a giant shit on his head. I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to say it.
You have no mana left, accursed farms. What was I supposed to do for you? Your community is out in force, shitting up our streams and socials with hate messages, threats, and worst of all, snide comments. Dear God, please, no. No, not the snide comments. Anything but that.
Oh my god. What a crybaby. Act like he's never gotten like a hate campaign against him on the internet before. Like, listen, I'm not saying people should. That is not what I'm saying. I'm not endorsing that. But what I am saying is that we as content creators all know snide comments are not the worst of it at all. Death threats, geolocations, stalking, random people popping in your stream to just start shit for no reason. I could go on, but I don't think I will. But I don't think snide comments even comes close on my list. Like, what?
Waterboard me all you want. Just don't post snide comments. Okay, but like, Pirate, you have unresolved software.
It's like that community meme where it's like, I'm fine with torture, but I draw the line at snide comments.
You got a bunch of shit wrong, and you misinformed a ton of people on a movement that is beneficial for gamers, so just come out and correct yourself. In fact, I'll give you an out right now. Say that you became the villain that Gotham needed.
Why is he running, Dad?
Because we have to chase him.
Okay, we're going in.
You secretly support this movement, but you wanted to create a persona that could galvanize people to be in opposition to you. This is your out. This is your out. Because if you don't own your mistakes will own you. I do want to point out him saying your initiative has failed, not it's failing or it's in trouble. Losing support. There's a lot of ways you could have said that, but you chose the definitive, your initiative has failed. It almost sounds like you want it to, like you're trying to manifest this outcome. Any assumption that Pirate simply disagrees with the Stop Killing Games initiative, we can just uninstall all of that. He maliciously wants it to fail. And that is so disappointing, because how does a guy who calls himself Pirate not understand why people want to preserve their games? It's like you can't make this stuff up. The writers for this year's season of
he's making very based points, very based points. I don't have much to add to it because I agree with everything he's saying.
Life on Earth, they're outdoing themselves, man. This season is fucking crazy. Disagreeing with this initiative is already weird enough for any self-respecting gamer, but to be like so outspoken against it is really sus. It's sussy balls.
Yeah, I would agree.
Pirate
It does
software.
feel sus.
Look inside. Don't pirate software. I'm more offended by his complete disregard for the noble profession of piracy. Now, some people, myself included, have wondered why he is so steadfast against this. Well, I mean, I'm not gonna say definitively that pirate software is an industry plant. I'm just saying this is exactly what an industry plant would do and say. Since you're so set on cutting up my responses into pieces to try to make me seem unhinged, I'm going to drop my videos here to show the actual context. There is also a massive pinned FAQ on the first video. Did you know I worked for GameFAQs? What? Dog, I ain't reading that. You're wrong. You can't explain yourself out of being factually wrong.
So Pirate Software did not understand the initiative. Maybe still doesn't. That means the majority of his critique is about things it would not do, like kill all MMOs.
I'm fine talking to people that are level-headed about this and can have a conversation. But to be real, dude, every time you've been involved, your orbiters turn shit toxic instantly and it sets me off. Don't you understand? It's your fault I am upset. How dare you expect me to correct my false information that I spit out 10 months ago?
And he does not wish to discuss this with me or anyone else in the initiative. Why not?
Would you consider reaching out and talking to Ross about it? No. And the reason why is because I found his entire statement over the YouTube incredibly disingenuous.
Yes, this issue which has bothered me since I was a teenager and I've spent 10 years on trying to push back against is me being disingenuous.
Look, this is just a backhanded way to say Ross isn't level-headed enough in your eyes and can't hold the conversation. It's like, dog, did you watch this video? Have you ever seen a more chill gamer or YouTuber on this platform? I
completely agree.
Real talk. He's completely non-hostile. The only reason he's making this video now is that's all he can do.
This video came out right as we were building momentum. Then, except for one boost in Germany, the signatures started drying up like clockwork. This put me in kind of a no-win scenario too. Because if I ignored it, then a lot of people were going to get misinformed about the campaign.
Oh, I broke it.
But if I did a response video, which is not something I wanted to do anyway, then it might look like drama farming, which could understandably turn off a lot of people from the campaign, because it's not about that at all.
So much misinformation was dumped on this initiative when it started, it did damage it. Now's the time to correct course, and that is what we are all doing. Pirate deleted this tweet, and then he goes on and says, "Sure, I shouldn't have clapped back when Ross disparaged lawmakers and the legal process." Again, it's like, whose side are you on now?
Yeah.
Now you're on the lawmakers side?
The fuck?
What, like all of them?
The idea that we're going to go through this because it's an easy win, but not the right win? No, dude.
Oh, God. So we misunderstood the initiative and misunderstood our intentions. And in his words, this is why he refuses to have a dialogue with the movement.
How dare you even crack a joke about the reality of the legal process in the United Kingdom? What kind of hill is that to die on? Ain't no buried treasure there.
The idea of getting it to pass with an easy win instead of pass because it's good is a problem to me.
Ain't no buried treasure there. Oh my god.
Absolute problem.
That's not how politics works. Do you think things pass because they're good ideas? Tell that to people who still have lead in their water.
This is just what's so funny about like the double, the triple, the quadruple down, like someone who can't ever admit that they're wrong. This is what's so fucking funny about it, is you just have to keep burying yourself into an even more ridiculous position. You make it so easy to make fun of you. It is hereby my dubious honor to present Pirate Software with the ultimate mark of shame, the Fake Gamer Award. No true gamer would stand against this movement or so wildly, intentionally misrepresent it as he has. Just fucking talk to Ross. It's not hard to have a conversation with people. I just don't get it. But Pirate has truly exposed a major flaw in his own software. And to wrap things up, if you're able to sign the initiative and push this thing forward, please do. Links are in the description and pinned comment. Reach out to anyone you think might also benefit or be interested in this, and make sure you do your part. Go subscribe to Ross at Accursed Farms. He deserves it for everything he's put himself through. And to Pirate Software, just take accountability, man. I know you're gonna be overloaded with people saying the same shit and you're gonna want to tune all of it out, but just, if you don't own your mistakes will own you. People want to like you, but sometimes you give them no choice. Don't be the guy campaigning against gamers, campaign with them.
Oh shit, we're all going to die. We don't exceed this perfectly, and we are not.
Oh, man. Alright. I do have to use the restroom, but I'm gonna let this video play first, because we've got a few seconds. You know what? Fuck it. I don't care that much. I'm gonna let this video play. I'm gonna go use the restroom. Hopefully, yes, it looks like it must have been The Wind is next, which is a song I absolutely... but I will be right back.
Please welcome the game director of Bethesda Game Studios, Todd Howard.
Watch this, a news release. The legendary series you missed for years comes back, get ready for some action. Get a couple bucks in here, smoke scripts right there. The fans fix it anyway, so we don't care. They'll patch it through microtransactions. So enjoy your pretty nylon bag Oh, and boy, stop shitting on our swag. You're not getting any money back. You knew this was a one-way wacky track. Dish it up and have your nylon bag. Coming up with it was real drag. Overseas was drink the tube I'll take, so you're not getting your money back. It just works, it'll stunning shows people buy money flows. It just works, overpriced open words, earnings rise, take my word. It just works, it just works, it just works, it just works. Our tech is cutting edge as far as I can tell. The creation engine aged very well. We're not planning on doing anything about it. Skyrim's a limit, don't deny it. See this mountain, you can buy it. In the DSC for the price of a real mountain. What's wrong with a train in place of your head? Come on, believe me, you see nothing yet. The battle spaceship with the dragon animation will become a new sensation on the internet. Just shut up, give us your every dime. Buying an armored horse, not a crime. Ideas can either shadow me with life, so we'll start on one more time at a time. It just works, little life stunning shows people buy money flows. It just works, overpriced open words, earnings rise, take my word. It just works, it just works, it just works. We don't want your machine. It's just everything we need. See the losing business job. Profits making our sleep. We don't want your machine. It's just everything we need. See the losing business job. Profits making our Now listen up. Welcome to the place washed by E-like waves. There's 2.5 peasants with the same ugly face. If you're not into small towns, check out big-ass planes. 50 times the size of Skyrim, twice as many bonus caves. You see, we at Bethesda know exactly what you want. Hugger gamers inspired us to improve shopping a lot. Now each stock must be bought for an actual 10 spot. And saving now is a pay mod for just 20 a slot. You're never getting bored with infinite quests. There's every vagabond to put you to the test. To be richly awarded with infinite chests full of rusty swords and use pregnancy tests. We got rid of skill trees, they were old and lame. We need a leveling system and a role-playing game. We can just slash and kill and save one more nation. No more levels and skills, only degradation. It just works, little life stunning shows people buy money flows. It just works, overpriced open words, earnings rise, take my word. It just works, little lies, stunning shows people buy money flows. It just works, it just works. It just works, it just works. It just works, it just works, it just works, it just works. So, who's laughing now?
All of this just works.
Okay, so we're back. I'm gonna eat my cereal because I was hungry. And we're gonna watch the Let's Talk Elections video that Tim sent over because I did want to cover it anyway. And then we're gonna probably get to the Zed. But this is Let's Talk Elections. This is a channel we have been watching since 2024 election. Since like August of last year. They're great. I like their coverage. Sometimes I need a little bit of a break from them, and sometimes I'm like, it's a little too early to be talking about this. But, you know, it never hurts to have a little bit of a game plan. So, play.
Hey guys, welcome back to today's video. Today is Sunday, July 6th, 2025, and today we are going to be talking about brand new news from Elon Musk announcing that after a very fateful split from Donald Trump and the Republican Party, that he is launching a third party nationwide, saying they will contest the 2026 midterm elections under the new name, the America Party. Now, Donald Trump and Elon Musk and their really, to put it plainly, beef between each other for the past few months and really the past few weeks, where it really has ramped up, has been something that is worth watching. Donald Trump was largely bankrolled by Elon Musk and his financial contributions in the 2024 presidential election. About $1 out of every $4 that Donald Trump spent in the last election came directly from Elon Musk. And so Elon Musk is a major contributor, not just to Donald Trump, but in total to the Republican Party, having heavily invested in a number of Republican congressional candidates, ranging from key House races to key Senate races. Elon Musk was integral in Donald Trump's success in the last election. Now, looking forward to 2026, obviously with a lot of this animosity between the White House and Elon Musk, there does build this tension. And
I do feel like that Elon Musk is kind of worn out his welcome, and a lot of people don't like him. Like, there's more people that don't like Elon Musk than don't like Trump. So I feel like this is going to backfire in his face, and it's going to be kind of funny.
Donald Trump really has been ramping up the antics, recently talking to a reporter about that he might be looking into potentially deporting Elon Musk. Now, obviously, a lot of theatrics from both two very wealthy men, one, the president of the United States, the most powerful man in the world, and the other hand, the richest man in the world. So you do have a lot of contention there, and one that certainly will be interesting to watch going into the 2026 midterm elections. Because it is Elon Musk launching this third party very much as pushback to the GOP. If he was happy with the state of the United States, of the state of the Republican Party, there would be no need to launch a third party that would be, in many cases, siphoning votes away from the GOP. And now making this decision is something that I'm not necessarily shocked about, but definitely seems to be inspired by this animosity, and one that could have consequential, results for the GOP in 2026. It could do a lot of damage in the upcoming midterms. And I want us to really explore exactly what a potential third-party candidacy might look like in a midterm election. The last notable third-party entrance in a race was in 1996 when Ross Perot ran as the Reform Party candidate. In 1992, he had a much more impressive showing, but he wasn't running as a candidate.
I feel like Dorothy was talking about this the other day. Or maybe another video we watched. It was the Republicans Have a Problem in 2028 video that we watched the other day. I'll link that really fast. It was really good. I moved it to do videos for when you learn something. Yep, I did. So smart. It was covered in this video. This gentleman talked about it from like a Republican perspective, or not from a very neutral perspective. It was a really good video. I highly recommend it. Maybe we'll rewatch it.
Represented by a political party. He was an independent, categorically middle of the road, ran to the left of George Bush, to the right of Bill Clinton, and found himself in the middle where a lot of voters really did like Ross Perot. They didn't seem to be thrilled with the option of Bill Clinton or George H.W. Bush, and what we saw was that in that 1992 election, Bill Clinton might have come out ahead, but only won 43% of the vote. In any other type of election, he would have lost in a landslide. But that wasn't the case. Ross Perot siphoned a lot of votes away from Democrats and Republicans, garnering 19% support nationwide, about 19 million votes, yet zero electoral votes, resulting in a Democratic landslide in the Electoral College.
Compared to like one, I guess.
4 years later, again, this really was the primary viable third-party entrance into the race. Ross Perot received less support than the previous term. Bill Clinton had been much more popular, easily won re-election with 49.
Bob Dole. Ross Perot, they have won in 92 if it wasn't for a threat against his family that caused him to withdraw partway through and then come back. He was ahead before he withdrew. Oh, I didn't know any of that.
0.2% of the vote and even more electoral votes than the first time around, but Ross Perot got about 8.4% of the vote, and since then, there haven't really been that many major third-party entrances.
Bob Dole.
But the last time I would really say it was super notable, I would say 2000 and 2016, where the Democratic Party lost narrowly on the margins with the inclusion of the Green Party in this race. Now, 2000, had the Green Party votes gone to Al Gore would have been president. In 2016, had the Green Party candidate and voters voted for Hillary Clinton would have won the election. And so when you think about third-party votes,
Ralph Nader 2000. I was bad for it. Who is it? Tim Kaine, the senator who was like really hyped to go from state to state after he like won something. He's like, "I'm gonna go to Texas. We're gonna go to Washington D.C." He dropped out of the race for getting clowned on for that. That was fucked up. 2016 wasn't so much Jill Stein as it was Ron Johnson. I just like to stay Jill Stein because she's the only person I know from the Green Party that keeps showing up and disappearing.
Voters in many cases. There have been instances where primary political parties in this two-party system, Democrats and Republicans, look to these third parties as adversarial because very often they can cause them to lose elections. Now, I think this America Party, just based on the nature of being an Elon Musk idea, is something that will primarily take from Republican votes. What we saw with RFK Jr. back in 2024.
What I will say is I do think Elon Musk will irritate Trump by calling it like the America Party. Because like the American flag and patriotism and bald eagles, that's like the image Trump tries to portray of himself. Ron Johnson was the candidate for the Libertarian Party. He drew in 5 million votes, many of who, including myself, are middle of the road. That's fair.
Was that when RFK Jr. was in the race, it wasn't really that he was bringing over Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, whoever.
If you could go back in time and change your vote, would you? Knowing what you know now.
Democratic voters, he was pulling from Trump's base. And
also, hot take, honey bunches of oats with added raisins is better than Raisin Bran.
that's why it was such a big get for the Donald Trump campaign to bring him into the candidacy, because they knew that without RFK Jr.'s voters, it was very possible that Donald Trump was going to lose the election. And so they did a lot. They promised him a cabinet position. Obviously did pan out for Donald Trump and for RFK Jr. But the point is that third-party candidacies have in some cases posed a very substantive threat to primary political parties. Now, with the 2026 midterms in mind, I don't think the presidential election is a great example of how Elon Musk's campaign might make a big difference. What I do think matters in the eventual, results is how it can make a difference.
I would not, honestly. I don't think much would have changed. I was not pleased with Hillary on her platform either. Or her platform either. Her entire platform just seemed to be vote for me because I am a woman. At least from what I remember. No, I think that's completely fair. I only voted for Hillary because I didn't vote for Hillary. I voted down the party except for Hillary because I was so pissed off about what happened with Bernie. And that I just voted straight down the column everything else. But I changed my party affiliation to vote for Bernie in the primaries. Because in New Jersey, you have to be the party affiliate in order to partake in the primary. I don't know if that's different in other states. But I was pissed off with Hillary. Pokemon Go to the polls? Ugh. It was an absolute joke. She was like a clown. And I do feel like when she called, like, people the basket of deplorables, like, it was just such a rich white lady talking down to people she thinks she's more intelligent than. And it's bothersome. I think that's fair.
difference on those states decided by the margins. To give you a general idea of where we are, the Senate elections. Elon Musk already says that they will be contesting House and Senate races. I use the Senate map because I think it's a bit easier, and we don't know all the House districts to talk about on an individual.
When he says contesting, does he mean putting up a person against that person? Or does he mean, like, actually being like, hey, we want to recount?
Basis. But what I'm going to do right now is characterize just pretty much where all the states are currently in terms of partisan representation. Should bring the Democrats to about 47 seats nationwide. The Republicans should also be at about 53. But I want to take this, additional characterization tool right here. States likely to be decided by 5% or less. And you might be surprised to see that there actually are way more than you think, especially given Ken Paxton in Texas. That one I could certainly see later down the line narrowing up to being decided by 5 points or less. But to be frank, the states that will be decided by 5 points or less, in my most recent prediction, I'm thinking Maine. I'm thinking North Carolina. I'm thinking Georgia, right? I'm thinking these states that Republicans are going to heavily invest in, and arguably, so are Democrats. But the point here is that it is these three.
Pretty much have someone primary the Trump nominee and then possibly even run against them in the general election. Is he directly going after Republicans, or is he going after both parties? That's also the thing I want to focus on. Like, is this truly like a I want the rest of the MAGA votes? Because I don't know many Democratic people who like. Oh wait, wasn't there that Democratic senator who was like, guys, now that Elon and Trump are fighting, let's bring Elon into the fold because he has money. Excuse me. And everybody's like, please shut the fuck up. Is that Slotkin? Oh, that's not my mouth.
Three key states, only one of them has a Democratic incumbent. And if Democrats end up winning North Carolina with 48% of the vote because the Republicans are at 47%, and you have about 5 points out there going to the America Party or the Libertarian Party or whoever it might be that siphons votes away from the GOP, you'll find that Democrats could come out ahead. And you also might find that in states like Maine, where you have Susan Collins, where there is a ranked choice voting alternative, and some of these Trump voters decide to do exhaustion with their ballot, which essentially means they'll rank Elon Musk's candidate first and nobody else because they'd rather have nobody than Susan Collins because they're disaffected with her, it still is a problem, right? On the margins, it can make a difference. It could make Georgia more solid for the Democratic Party. I already expect Jon Ossoff to win that race. Given the circumstances of the year, it'd be a much more beneficial race for Democrats if they're winning by 5. And better for Jon Ossoff's political career, right? In Maine, another state that could be decided, what we could see is that a Senate map like this that could be entirely the result of Elon Musk's new political party, if Democrats are to even come up short, could still come out ahead if Elon Musk is bringing down the GOP. Now, this is assuming a lot that the Republican courts and the Republican legislatures aren't going to try to stop Elon Musk from being on the ballot. And the reason I say that is because Republicans have tried and successfully done so in the past, and so have Democrats too. But the reason I say it for the GOP, it's noteworthy because it is the GOP who historically has suffered more on the midterm elections as a result of third-party candidates, even non-midterm elections. The 2020 Senate races, Jon Ossoff was only able to get into this position in a runoff because David Perdue was dragged down with Shane Hazel, the Libertarian, pulling a lot of those votes away. David Perdue almost made it to the final results, to a 50% mark, which is what he needed. But Shane Hazel, the Libertarian, received 2.3% of the vote. A seemingly inconsequential third party that has never held a congressional seat, elected to a congressional seat, because we've seen it in party flips, but never been elected to a congressional seat, Senate or House, never been elected to a gubernatorial seat. We have never seen libertarians hold massive amounts of political power. But what they did in Georgia was gave Democrats control of the United States Senate. And when you think about it, when you think, too, about other races, third-party candidates can make a difference. Think about Wisconsin, for instance. The good news for Republicans here was that it was a head-to-head race. But what do you think? What could have happened here if there was a viable Libertarian Party candidate on the ballot? The biggest hurdle for many of these candidates, I mean, you can see it 2008.
So I I guess my question is for me to understand. Are people more likely to vote libertarian if they are Republican as they like the MAGA base? And then I guess it's the same true for Democrats. Also, why does Oklahoma have this like bomb mark? I'm back. Welcome back. Is like, I guess it would be like a little bit of both, just like we saw with Hillary Clinton.
18. Republicans were
Had to call for a YOF action. Oh, geez. Rough, buddy.
saved because there was no third-party candidate. In Florida, Bill Nelson lost by a fraction of a percentage point, less than a quarter of a percentage point in Florida. 11,000 votes separated across 8 million cast. Could you?
So the circle is there because there was a special election. Awesome. Thank you, Tim. I appreciate that. I was like, did we bomb Oklahoma?
Imagine if there's a...
Did we already try to like take out some tornadoes by bombing Oklahoma? That where we are and I just didn't hear about it yet?
Libertarian candidate here. On the margins, Republicans would have lost it. And so looking at Elon Musk, Republicans, again, have not been advantaged by these third-party candidates outside of the presidential election, and I get it. On the presidential election, it matters, but you have to think about the context there, too. Think about
I
that.
see one in Mississippi, too. Okay. I guess it's just weird because it's not on the grayed out. Oh, in Minnesota. All right, I see it. I guess it would make sense not be on the grayed out one. Oklahoma's grayed out now. Doesn't matter.
Elon Musk is not going to be a Green Party type of political party that pulls from Democrats. I don't imagine that, I think less than 10% of Democrats will feel represented by an Elon Musk political party. Way more Republicans will likely feel at home there. Way more independent.
As far as voting, libertarian tends to be, it's just right of center, but it's more center than the current Democrat and Republican parties. Okay, that's fair and based. I think that's chill. I do see a lot of people rather like vote Republican than libertarian because they don't. But I do hear a lot of people who convert from like hardcore MAGA Republican tend to go towards libertarian or sovereign citizen. Which every day I get closer and closer to being like, you know what? Maybe Soft 6 are right. Maybe they are.
Independents would likely feel more at home there than a party like the Green Party. Because Elon Musk is going...
Modern libertarianism... Modern libertarianism has become voting radical right, but... I don't know. So here in Jersey, we have a lot of people, call them pineys. We have a lot of pineys, but still claiming pineys. And what pineys are they are people who feel like the South won Civil War, and that their family proudly fought for the South in the Civil War. Mind you, these are like New Jersey and have never had a family member outside of New Jersey. Generation spread. They wear the Confederate flag. They drive around. Their favorite shows are Hazard. I grew up around many of these. And they are full on MAGA. And then you have the opposite end here, which is me. Honestly, I think even a little, there's other people further left than me. That, are regretful of our past. The South won the Civil War, which is why the Confederate States of America are still around, right? Yeah, exactly. Those are arguments I had to make to like my classmates in high school. Like, ma'am, your entire education lasted longer than the Confederacy. Stop it. But I do think here in New Jersey, especially, libertarians are more middle. I will hold Tim's back there on that. I can see how in other states and in online spaces, like, libertarians can be seen as like fence sitters, but not every person is, and that is something you have to remember. You have to remember that not everything we online is real, and not everyone is online.
Going to represent a certain faction of the GOP that might be a little bit more extreme, but also might be a little bit more towards the center. It depends on who Elon Musk is appealing to. And at the end of the day, I don't think that this is going to be something that will make a big difference like it did in 1996 or 1992 or on the presidential level. I don't think that will be the case. And these Elon Musk Trump spats are often...
I see a lot of libertarians part of the alt-right pipeline. My sister claims that she is a libertarian, but she is very like alt. She is very gross of people of color and yeah. So, but I will say, not like that at all in any way. And I've known Tim for a number. I think it just depends on the person. There are the people who still say or was about states' rights when Mississippi, states like Mississippi, preservation of slavery in it. Yeah, exactly. Those are pineys. Like, your family has never been outside of Atlantic City. Please shut up, Jan. There were so many of them. So many. And, like, I guess it's I went to, like, that, like, part of the classmates from, like, this area of New Jersey. But, I think it could go either direction. Just, like leftists and, like, liberals can go to Blue Anon. Blue Anon is still working on the whole, like, Elon Musk broke the computers, and we're going to find out any day now that Kamala is actually president, and then she's going to take a rightful place. Those are actual things I see circulated on Blue Sky. So, I do think every section has its more extreme section.
Short-lived enough that by the time the next presidential election, if it is J.D. Vance, Musk and Vance still have a seemingly, strong going relationship to the degree that it can when you're secondhand man to the person that really dislikes Elon Musk, right? At the end of the day, I don't imagine it will be a major contributing factor to a Republican victory or loss in 2028. At least,
yeah, I agree with that. I don't think it's gonna matter.
Not right now. It obviously is very early. The plans for this were announced yesterday, so we have to keep that in mind as well. But understanding the impact of third-party candidates in an election year that's already not going to be positive for the GOP just simply doesn't help. It's not additive. It's not something that the Republican Party can look at and say, we are happy Elon Musk wants to do a third party. Because under the two-party system, Republicans hold a trifecta.
States' rights. States' rights to own people. It's always about states' rights until, like... What's the thing that just most recently happened? That I was like, guys, states' rights, what the fuck? Oh, sending the military into states? And people like, yeah, send the military in there. Like, bro, states' rights. They get to decide that, not you. Chill as fuck. Oh, it was the AI. It was the AI bill. The big beautiful bill was the section where it was like, states are not allowed to, like, retaliate against AI. And if they do, they'll get, like, their federal funding pool for, like, 10 years. So let's take a moratorium on that. And I believe that got struck out before it got signed, but I'm not 100. States right, motherfuckers, when it's a blue state, yeah. And so, like, I was like, that's fucked up. What about states' rights? And it's like, nobody cares about states' rights unless it's about the Confederacy.
Under the two-party system, Republicans can at least hold their own in a number of key races. But thinking on the margins, just how much can make a difference? How much can really change by just a few percentage points? Let's take the most recent House election results and shift them by 1.5 points. 1.5%. That's all I'm saying. For Elon Musk to take that away from the GOP, what does it do on the House map? Democrats win back House control. 1.5% is all that it takes. Let's take a look at the Senate races. 1.5% won't change that much, don't get me wrong, but it does something for Democrats. About a 1.5% shift nationwide in these Senate races gives Democrats back Pennsylvania, which, if, again, continued to the presidential map, I want you to see this. You take the margins, shift by 1.5% nationwide. What does the electoral map look like? Democrats are in a much better position, and Pennsylvania becomes just a few points away from being over there for Kamala Harris. You shift it over, get to about a point there, Kamala Harris would have won the presidency.
Rand Paul's a libertarian. They tend to want less. At least the classic version of libertarianism. Can't speak of modern libertarianism. Yeah, exactly. And I think everybody has their definition of like what their perceived party is or their own political values too. So like that is something to keep in mind. Like, yeah, I'm a leftist, I'm a socialist, I'm a communist, and whatever you say. The most communist thing about me is that I believe everybody deserves health care, that workers should own the means of productions, and that copyrights are broken. Like, okay, I guess I'm a communist, and I guess I'm a communist for wanting kids to be able to have school lunches and, you know, Medicare for everybody. But you know, some people would rather be anarchists. How dare you believe in you commie rat bastard? I think it's so frustrating because like, people call you such awful names when you're like, I have empathy. I'm sorry, I don't like paying for this, so I bet you don't like paying. You like $4,000 ambulance bills? Okay, buddy. Not everybody else has a pain kink like you, all right?
So when you think about things, and you think about how seemingly inconsequential a third-party
candidate might be. It's actually 700. In what state? Because I have 2 bills that say otherwise. New York. Yeah, in New Jersey, the 2 bills that I got were over. My 2 stepkids need hospital, and we need an ambulance. And we got a bill separate for each child. I'll tell you right now, it was more than $4,000. So, and that's not including the stay at or visiting and at the hospital. But when someone doesn't want to ride, I always ride is cheaper than I mean, that's fair, but who can afford $4,000? Like sometimes death is actually then I don't have to bear the weight of this medical debt for the rest of my
it can make a whole difference. I mentioned this in the very beginning too. I think 2016 is a better indicator of this. But 1 point in that election would have made the difference. Right? You shifted in favor of Clinton. She would have won Wisconsin, Michigan, and Pennsylvania, and she would have been president of the United States. And American politics would be so radically different.
The average funeral is $7,000. Baby girl, dump me in a ditch. Wait, 2 kids in an ambulance ride is over $4,000 each. I'm only like minimum $3,000 away from a funeral. Okay, at that point, just throw a couple more stitches on me.
Today, than it was in 2016. Than it was, you know, all the before. And then it is, right? And I think that is.
I've already experienced that. When I die, I want to be turned into ash, and I want that ash pressed around little seeds. And then I want those, like, but I also want it to be, like, dyed in color. And then I want those seeds shot out of a cannon. And then I want my ashes spread over something with some kind of plant. I always wanted mimosas, but they're kind of invasive, so I want something. Being thrown in the river, locks tied to my ankles is cheaper, yeah. You ever find Jimmy Hoffa? So many questions.
The biggest part of this, too, is that if Republicans are to lose in 2026 and do so by the margins that Democrats would hope for, very much would have to go the Democratic Party's way, just as it did in 2018. What happened in 2018, Republicans were scared. 40-plus Republicans decided to retire, including their speaker. Everyone said, I'm backing out. Trump is dooming us. We're going to lose. And they did lose the nationwide popular vote by nearly 9 percentage points. And while I don't imagine Democrats will have the same exact luck in 2026, things are starting to look better for them. And Elon Musk is contributing to that with this new political party. Because it is only going to be Republicans that this hurts. And in the key and crucial races, this America Party could siphon enough votes.
Oh, the theory is right now is that he's buried under the Lion State. They can get my body. I want to be dropped out of a 130. Detroit? Why Detroit? He was from Jersey. What the hell the Lions do? Oh my god, wait, that would make so much sense because my dad was a Lions fan and he was in the Union. Oh my god, I'm brain blasting. Holy shit. I was just like, wait, my dad's a Detroit Lions fan. Oh my god, Jimmy Hoffa, the Union. My dad was in a Union. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Away, the Democrats would come out ahead.
Jimmy Hoffa is from the Midwest. Wasn't he injured when like all this stuff happened, or were people just saying he was buried injured? Maybe my dad buried Jimmy Hoffa under Lions Stadium. I gotta clip down that sound.
Democrats might be finally benefiting from Elon Musk's involvement in American politics because they started to in the beginning of this administration with the elections in Wisconsin, with the elections in Florida, and Democrats.
Born in Indiana, and then my whole life is so. I have misunderstood this. Oh my god! I thought he got on his way to a meeting in New York, and the theory is that he was thrown into the river with cinder blocks on his just outside of Ellis Island. But now I'm wondering if that's somebody else. That's like such a Jersey thing to do. Anyone check like me? I looked the other day when I was in 76. I didn't find. Oh, I think the next Fallout game is in Louisiana. That's my guess.
Learned a new playbook. A playbook that might be more short-lived as Musk has left the administration, but still a powerful one about billionaires and oligarchy and the way that voters view the federal government being controlled by people besides voters. And so when you think about how this could play and be interwoven into Democratic messaging in 2026, it starts to become more apparent. And so Elon Musk launching this America Party, I really do think damages the GOP. To the extent that they will involve themselves in competitive races, I don't know. Elon Musk is also a practical person in regards to where he invests his money, how he invests his money, and who he invests his money to. And I think looking at 2026, the Senate races, the House races, I imagine he...
I differ on that a little bit, but again, I still love Thomas Edison, and Thomas Edison trying to find a way to by killing another elephant.
will try to stay shy of the most competitive ones, but
You have Netflix. If you do, the Irishman did a pretty good job of telling Hollywood. I heard houses. Oh, I don't have Netflix, but I think I've heard of the Irish. Did it win an award? Probably. I am probably fucking.
simultaneously could see some benefit of if he weighs down the GOP enough, they're forced to listen to him. Maybe that'll make a difference. So keep your eye on this America Party. It might be a big nothing burger. It might be something even more substantive, because the man worth, $300 billion is going to be in a good position to fund a political party that in some cases might need just...
It's a 4-hour movie, but I could host it for the next movie night. Sure, if you want to do that, I'm down. After we do the Fortnite, or not the Fortnite, I'll put up channel points.
$10,000 and a few thousand signatures to end up on a ballot in a swing district that could make...
I like doing the community. I think they're fun. I like sharing things with you guys, whether it's off stream or on stream. I'm always posting the Discord. Yeah, I love doing stuff.
All the difference for the National Republican and Democratic parties, and could completely change the outcome of the 2026 midterm elections. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Make sure to comment down suggestions below.
Thank you. Election. Best. Now I want to watch this ad.
One of the more difficult aspects of this job, and please understand,
this is Zed Tabani, also known as Style the New. I recommend you check them out. They're pretty good. I love their content. I enjoy it when it comes out, and I hope you subscribe.
And I am very well aware of how lucky I am to have it, is that sometimes when certain events or decisions in the world are so devastating and toxic, people who just want to make sense of all the terror and panic look to you to just have an answer for all of it, even though there may not be a perfect bowed answer. This does two things. And again, I'm not complaining. I wanted this job. One, you become the light switch or the secret red button to explain away some of the more difficult aspects of the world people need to deal with, right? They feel pain and they go to you to explain it and make them feel a little bit better and to have some solace through very difficult, trying times. Again, I wanted this job. People like Jon Stewart did that for me. A lot of rap music did that for me. I completely understand that. But also too, for people who just want to have their fears validated, you were immediately a dismissive force.
I want to read these. 2 minutes and 36 seconds. To be honest, Zed, those commenters are right, and you calling them out petty and childish. 3 minutes and 28 seconds. The response to "fuck you gonna do" from Trump, "you're fired, now fuck off," he has done multiple times already and will keep. Here you lack the life mental strength to accept A, you are wrong, and B, your country is fucked, and by extension the rest of the world. Your people voted mentally unwell and unintelligent. I think again should be your people voted in parentheses in a mentally unwell, unintelligent psychopath that has been compromised by Russia for decades. He has made his clear and also made it obvious not give a fuck about anyone, the people that made him powerful. Propagating the belief that everything will be fine because checks and balances, nothing short. Checks only work if everyone abide by them. Once you have one side unwilling to recognize them, other unwilling to enforce them, the checks are not worth the paper they are written on. People have royally fucked the planet. Probably no way of coming back. Your country is the reason why in a Russian that will be your fault. Peak liberal, they are exactly the same. So it's not a Nazi bullshit. What do we need for us to have a whole different constitution? Realize what is happening. I mean, you have a Supreme Court that is fundamentally rewriting how the current constitution is good. They don't need to rewrite it to rewrite to achieve fact. LOL. This was a horrible watch. No one thought January 6th would happen. I kind of did. It did. Because Trump was hyping it up for like the longest time. He was like, hey, come to the Capitol. Hey, I don't think this election was fair. Hey. Like, it was very obvious it was going to happen. For anyone who thought it didn't happen, they weren't watching anything. They weren't reading his tweets or watching the news. Literally anything. Where was I? Nothing bad will happen and this will end peacefully. That is fine. Look, I'm not here to hate on Zed, but he's treating this Minecraft on God mode. There is a threat and things can get dangerous and deadly. And I'm sick of him just doing episode and episode upon episode upon episode upon episode of bad things happening in her and just the dog meme, everything is fine.
Saying it's not so bad, even if you're not saying it's not so bad. It's bad. All the while with all of that, you have a media that is trained to emphasize the mess of it all and the dire consequences, both from a sincere need to inform people as well as a sensationalized need to ratchet up the of everything. You have political entities who rely on engagement, who think, oh, this amount of chaos is a perfect motivation.
The tweet corner says, we will never fully recover from even if we win the midterms and win the next presidential election, next one after that, it will never be enough. We will be forever a weaker, lesser nation because Trump was allowed to serve.
Motivational tool, so let's just poke that anxiety pain point until it freaks them the fuck out and they engage. By the way, that also includes anti-electoral people. Don't think you're off the fucking hook here. And then on top of all of that, you have influencers and your own life is still going and your mom's mad at you. I don't know, some shit's going on. So when I tell you that the one big beautiful bill passing is a devastating piece of legislation that does enormous harm to the social safety net in order to boost grotesque benefits for the elite at the expense of common citizens. I understand you may be wary about the idea of trying to find solutions to mitigate that damage, but trying to find solutions to mitigate that damage shouldn't be a mutually exclusive concept. You can still try to fucking help. I've been stating since the beginning of the year, no, since after the fucking elections, since we all want to go back and talk about what should have happened all the time. The biggest issue with the most analogous time period to now was that the anxiety of the moment during the mid-aughts and the Iraq War and the us versus them mentality and all the Islamophobia and the Patriot Act, all that bullshit. The worst part of that was that that anxiety of that moment fried people's ability to function and reasonably fight back. The same anti-electoral points and disengagement tactics paralyzed substantive progressive momentum and hurt a lot of people who caved in on themselves. And so the purpose of this video is not only to give you a damage report of what's going to come from this bill, right? But to be specific on how that damage is implemented so you can prepare for it, work against it, and hopefully eventually reverse it. And let me not bury the lead here. Yes, a large amount of the one big beautiful bill is reversible. Now, that does not mean that all of it will be reversed and that the damage that comes will be negligible. There is going to be an impact from this bill and some of those pain points will stick in a material way. But also, there are ways that you can blunt that damage and create a through line for systemic change that has impact and avoids the worst cliffs. Let's talk about it. And we're going to divide this video into the Medicaid cuts, the ICE stuff, and then all of the other political bullshit. But let me preface with this, and I want to say, please don't take me as if I'm trivializing or rubbing salt in your wound when I say this, right? Sincerely, there was very little chance that this bill was not going to pass. In the current political climate, the Republicans immediately...
Yeah, I thought it was going to pass. I hoped it wouldn't. And the closer we got, the more I knew it was going to pass. And it
immediately understood, right, that with their slim majorities, the only chance they had of passing anything was a reconciliation bill, one where they wouldn't have to deal with the filibuster and could just pass it with simple majorities. In terms of political incentives, and I've spoken before about the GOP's political incentives, it was a this bill has to pass no matter what moment, with the idea that if they pass something unpopular, eventually maybe public perception turns around, like on Obamacare or something else, versus them passing nothing, which would 100% result in a giant fucking revolt from their voters and donors. Now that was until this last month. I cannot tell you how insane it is that it got down to the wire like it did. I cannot tell you how crazy it is that the messaging around this bill became as poisonous as it was. The negative approval ratings of this bill in all polling, at one point it was like -29 or something, and all public perception were fucking enormous. It was abysmal, you know, in terms of likability. Elon Musk lost his fucking BFF badge over this goddamn bill. Multiple senators decimated their political capital, which they've been hiding behind for years, by supporting this thing. This was largely due to a sustained campaign from people who were dissatisfied and horrified by this bill, and this will likely stick far beyond the passing of the big beautiful bill in a seismic way. So do not feel, if you were opposing this bill, that your voice had no impact. There is a universe where this passed and nobody gave a shit, and everybody just went about their fucking day while Americans suffered. That is not the current reality we live in. People are very upset this thing passed, all right? And they were very dissatisfied and worried about what is in this bill. It promoted all of the narratives the Trump administration did not want it to promote, because much of the public understood the talking point of Medicaid and SNAP cuts going to fund rich people's tax burden, right? And that average people would lose health care. Because of that, it is a DEFCON 1 situation in the world of politics for Republicans right now. So let's really quickly start with Medicaid. Many low-income families and seniors and people with disabilities are worried about the Medicaid cuts. Obviously, even the conversation we've been having around healthcare for the last year, right, plays a lot into this. Not to mention some of the other provisions in this bill, right? Like the new requirement to work like 80 hours a month and all that bullshit to be able to get your benefits and all that. Now, very quickly, let's go through a couple things about how this is going to be implemented and what a lot of people are worried about. So number one, you are not getting kicked off of Medicaid tomorrow. Trump's plan is essentially a 4% decrease from the Medicaid budget every single year, beginning with the fiscal year 2026. At that point, a lot of things kick in, like the fact that your ACA plan will no longer renew, and there'll be a reduction in the subsidies for the Affordable Care Act for certain people's healthcare. And for Medicaid, most of the pressures on the Medicaid pool, right, who gets benefits and who doesn't, that will happen year over year as that budget decreases, right? Theoretically, between now and then, there is time to shore up mutual aid, check other state level programs. Certain states, right, have state level programs that can help mitigate some of that damage, right? Donate to independent health clinics, donate to other legal funds for people who need to weather the storm. I understand not everybody has the luxury to do all of these things as well. And the damage of these cuts long term, as it's been said before, is that tens of millions of people will be kicked off of their health insurance by 2034. Now, in terms of reversing or combating this, right, much of the 4% decreases can be repealed using reconciliation as well from a Democratic Congress. But in the short term, with a midterm victory, Democrats could use the appropriations to block funding to things like reviews of people's eligibility and all that. But those are negotiations under what would be a Republican president still, because even if the Democrats take the House and the Senate, which it very well could happen because of how fucking bad this bill was, right? They're still going to have to negotiate and play their cards right in order to make this go through. But the biggest worry right now, right, over time for these next 4 years is specifically that 4% being normalized, right? As these cuts take effect and systems adapt to them, the new way of doing things begins to become entrenched. The problem seeps in and starts to become systemic. This is why it is important, right, specifically with this, to keep the pressure of how bad these cuts are front and center, far past what this bill is in the zeitgeist. The devastation of the Medicaid cuts and what people are going through should be a defining element of the 2026 midterms. And even into 2028, it should be a major talking point.
Telling you, one candidate comes out and says, free healthcare for all. I will do free healthcare for all. It's over. Game over, okay? And like, you could even like, let's pretend we're on Mamdani, okay? We're on the stage, New York. We're on Mamdani, for Israel. I support American citizens being able to get free healthcare because America is able to fund Israel enough that they give all of their citizens free healthcare, but we cannot fund our own country enough to provide for our citizens. There we go. Okay? So, yeah, just any candidate. Just that's all you need to run on. I don't need anything else. Free healthcare. How you fix this? We need FDR. I'm channeling the spirit of FDR. Please inhabit the body of AOC. Or maybe don't. Don't do that, actually.
Point. If that is the ultimate focus of these next few elections, to reverse the damage,
I would never want to infect anyone with a polio-ridden, cigar-smoking old man.
Medicaid, and that referendum is called upon, this won't be forgotten, right? And a lot of that normalization that happens systemically won't be as difficult to reverse, because if it is in the national conversation, it incentivizes the political sphere to prepare for it in different ways. Now, obviously, these feed in to tax cuts for the wealthy. And yes, it is possible for a future Democratic Congress to raise taxes on the wealthy, keep the middle class tax cut, and refund the parts of Medicaid hit hardest. But that obviously will take time, organizing, and intelligent messaging to get across the line. The fact that this bill was labeled with such inequity, though, makes it much easier to sell that vision forward, especially in an environment like this one, where progressive policies talking about affordability are front and center of everybody's mind. So again, donations, mutual aid, and talking about the subject in the short term are incredibly important to look for long-term success and mitigate short and long-term damage. I know it's not the most satisfying conclusion, but it's a start. All right, now let's move on to ICE. So right off the bat, yes, there is a ton of new funding for ICE and support around their deportation strategies. Many people saying they are more well-funded than the Marines, which in some cases is very true. However, something to keep in mind, right? Even this large bundle of ICE funding is gradually dispersed. They don't just get this giant lump sum dumped into their lap to do whatever the fuck they want with it.
They would immediately buy cocaine and hook. They would immediately do that.
It's over time. And with that comes some long-term mitigation strategies. So let's go over it, right? So in terms of immediate funding, right? ICE gets funding for new detention beds, transportation, and enforcement staff to deal with their current $2 billion shortfall. That's around $10 billion funding. Now, the larger sum, right, the $100 billion you keep hearing about, that's dispersed over several years. And that's for mainly infrastructural stuff like construction and border wall operations, detention facility expansion, right, and a gradual ramp up in agents, but that specifically is over 4 to 8 years. Now, in an ideal world, right, in the near term, let's say the Democrats retake the House and the Senate, right? Okay. Well, then they can theoretically reappropriate, right, and deal with the funding in a way that is difficult for ICE to use or gain access to. They can investigate ICE, they can freeze a lot of the things they have going. Of course, because Trump would still be president in 2027 after whatever happens in the 2026 midterms, right? If a theoretical wave happens, you would still run into problems because of Trump's veto signature. You would need a reversal of fortunes in 2028. And look, political headwinds right now for the Democrats seem very, very strong. We're still years away though. I don't want to make predictions, but listen, in the interim, if you're worried, there are things that a Democratic Congress can do, right? There are still heavy budget negotiations that can happen. They can force the government into a shutdown over ICE. There's many, many things they can do to combat this, but it's not nearly as strong or as effective without control of the executive. But let's say you did get a Democratic president with both chambers of Congress. Yes, you can pull back a lot of the funding that ICE
Oh, okay, good. I was like, David's not old enough. And he won't be old enough by 2028.
has and reappropriate it. So if they create stopgaps or slow down the way ICE is hiring or using the money or using the funds, right, between 2027 and 2028, right, anything that isn't spent starting 2029, right, can be reappropriated and sent back to Medicaid or other programs. Now, the issue that comes into play mainly is contracts, right? Because certain contracts that ICE is going to enter into for building, right, are locked in, right? Building on things like the border wall, some of the detention facilities, right? If those are in process or already activated, some of those will have to still completely go through and finish up, because if the government cancels on those, they'd have to pay a cancellation fee and end up spending more money. But overall, if you had a trifecta around that time, a rescission bill is possible, right? And with the unpopularity of ICE, it would be important to continue to hammer this point home and make it another one of the referendums in 2026. Again, ICE is standing amongst the American public. For some reason, the immigration enforcement was semi-popular at the beginning of the year. That is no longer the case. People see how horrific this shit is. People see how Trump is abusing ICE. This bill is definitely not helping. And as well, I should tell you, in general, when it comes to ICE, right, as much as it doesn't look like it sometimes, right, they are facing a lot of hurdles you may not be aware of. I live in California, specifically Los Angeles, right, and it's been very clear to many people watching how devastating some of these ICE raids have been. What has not been made clear in that coverage, though, is how much resistance ICE has faced and how much damage that resistance mitigated, because this shit could have been a lot worse.
Welcome, billionaires, to the class war. Drink whiskey straight. Nice. LA strong. Kings. That's pretty sick. That's nice art. That is sick art, man.
Because of the lack of cooperations from many agencies within the California state government, ICE had a harder time carrying out some of those deportation raids. You also saw different cities and municipalities vote to break their agreements with ICE, as well as other private entities like the Dodgers resist ICE agents from entering the stadium or interfering with.
I also want to remind people that it is not illegal to stand in a hotel parking lot that ICE might be sleeping inside of and make really loud noises until other guests complain and find out that ICE is in there, and then the hotel has to ask them to leave. That's not illegal. And it's kind of funny. I've seen a few videos of it. Just saying.
With patrons. But again, that does not mean it stopped all of the damage. But if your only view of a horrific situation is if all the damage is stopped, or we just
that's his son. No, he was down here for this. I think that's him right there.
give up, that is not a strategy that works. And that is going to bring me to my last point, the conversation around electoralism, because even saying that pisses me the fuck off. So look, for the record, right, I think it is a valid point to make that only looking towards electoralism or elections as an answer to inequality and authoritarianism is dumb. Just using that as the sole answer to all of it, right, is a bad strategy, right? That's not going to solve all of your problems with one fell swoop, right? Because of how corrupt this system is. That being said, if your chief strategy and argument is to deny any sort of engagement with electoralism or electoral politics, saying that all it does is get the rich more richer and it serves no meaningful progress at all, You have a myopic view of history, you have flattened material facts, and you have a poor sense of strategy or instincts for this whole fucking situation. And in all sincerity, you need to reevaluate how you move about your life. Period. Because there are subjective and objective things. And while you may subjectively feel that electoralism does not do enough, objectively, it is required as the only major tool for tangible policy change. I know this because the worst people understand that and use it all the fucking time. And objectively, throughout history, complete lack of engagement with electoralism has only led to small communal policy changes that do not last long term. And before you bitch at me saying voting doesn't solve all of our problems, Zed, yeah, again, I'm not fucking saying that, right? Only voting is like the bare fucking minimum effort and also has similar problems with long-term change. That's why if I could hold your fucking hand to say this, I would. You need both. This isn't rocket science, guys. There's so many fucking moments in history where it is so clear you need both. It is there in black and fucking white, or in color, or in every... You always need both. And yet motherfuckers who read one Howard Zinn book and misquoted George Carlin will tell you about the most basic bitch theory about how to change anything when they haven't done fucking shit. You need protests and mutual aid and community and grassroots organization and general strikes to create awareness and pressure things that electoral politics just can't do, right? Like there are places electoral politics cannot go, but you need electoral politics, right, to aid with some of that work, but also to stick the policy landing that you've been fighting for the whole fucking time with.
I feel like I needed this. I'm not gonna lie.
The strikes and the community.
I've been very doomer coded over the last 3 days. It's been very hard to exist out here on these. Watch out. Anyway. I feel like I needed this.
Community organizing, the idea that no progress has been made as you flatten all of the fucking work over the last century is fucking ridiculous. And you can criticize Democrats and liberals, and I will agree with you. But at a certain point, some of you are just fucking pessimistic assholes who are fucking bad at this. Some of us have experienced organizing communities and actually achieving tangible goals with and without electoral help. And as one of those people, either your goal is to help the people who are going to have trouble keeping their health insurance or have to deal with harassment from ICE or have to worry about their rights being taken away, or your goal is to drop a 5 fucking paragraph essay in a TikTok argument, and if it's the latter, you're an unserious bitch. The world is what it is. It is imperfect. Right? Like mutual aid is imperfect. Like voting for politicians is imperfect. Spoiler alert, Zoran Mamdani is going to let you down sometimes when he gets elected, right? Or cyborg Bernie Sanders, whoever you like is...
Bernie Sanders, circa 2023, returning from his self-exile to place bid in the 2024 election. And, like, it's okay for politicians to let me down. I'm not mad at Cory Booker because he let me down a few times. I'm mad at Cory Booker because he has actively let down the people of Jersey citizens multiple times, and, like, all because he takes money from his... And it's gross, and I don't like it, and I feel like he does a lot of stuff for show, especially since it's been announced that he's a social media strategist for the Democratic Party. So it just feels kind of fake. Like, it just feels...
Probably going to let you down a little bit because they are fallible. I'm not perfect. I'll probably upset you by going to a Raising...
Oh, you guys know I'm definitely not perfect.
Cane's instead of a great place like Angry Chicks sometimes. Don't fucking at me. Angry Chicks is the best fried chick. Don't go there. Try it. It's fucking gas. But the goal isn't more leftist policies or more liberal policies or more conservative policies. It's just better policies. I don't fucking care who gets to polarize whatever we want to call universal health care. I just care about universal health care.
Yeah, if the Republicans pass universal health care, that's a W. I'm sorry. That's an easy W. I'm telling you, I don't care what political party you are. If you run on universal health care, you'll get my vote.
Liberal electoralism. I don't give a fuck. Liberal or leftist electoral. I just care about policies sticking. I don't care about letting my anxieties paralyze me like they did in 2005 when they fucked people over with debt, or they put the troop surge in Iraq, or they fumbled Hurricane Katrina and all those people died, or they used Islamophobia on every fucking station to tell Muslims that they were not Americans and not part of the fabric of the United States, right? I don't care about those anxieties. I care about how to fight back like I didn't get to do back then. This feels insane because it is, but it has happened before and it will lose again. Let me know what you think in the comments. Okay, very quickly, I did want to add another story onto this because this is a Sunday show, so I wanted to give a little bit extra. So let's talk about Stop Killing Games. Even if you're not into video games, this is actually a very important story about consumer protections that I think you should pay attention to. So look, in terms of media, and you may already know this, right? With the advent of streaming and a lot of other digital storefronts, owning pieces of media has become harder and harder as time has gone on. And particularly in the games industry, this has become a huge problem, right? Because a lot of games these days have persistent online functionality or live service, basically with the developer on the button managing their existence. But because these games are dependent on developer support with their servers or their persistent online functionality, right? Sometimes when developers get the call to cease support on a title, everything you paid for on that title effectively disappears because the game you bought is then not left in a functional state. It's taken down, and all of a sudden, this thing that you bought is just a brick or a useless, just ephemeral artifact. It's another version of planned obsolescence, right? Planned obsolescence is the idea that companies plan for products to become obsolete after a certain time, forcing you to upgrade or lose out on the product you have entirely. That has become more egregious over—
Yeah, Apple is notorious for doing that. They'll like break down your phone so you have to get ones, or like their apps won't work on your phone. They're not the most up to date.
The last few years, particularly in the gaming space. But look, it's not even limited to just games either, right? You've heard stories in the past, like recently, of people who have bought titles on other digital storefronts, right? Owned by big companies that have lost access to those pieces of media years later, which is super fucked up because you paid for it. Like, I don't have a guy from a corporation breaking into my house saying that, no, you can't play that DVD anymore. And this issue is what birthed the movement Stop Killing Games. Stop Killing Games is pretty much an initiative asking developers to leave their games in a functional state when support for the game ceases, right? So the community can continue to play the game that they paid for moving forward. Now, look, this has a lot of tangible benefits outside of just you get to play the thing that you spent money on. There are plenty of instances and stories of games that have lost developer support, however, evolved over the years and grown in community in size that have actually helped bring a lot of innovation and positives to the gaming industry.
I love Smash Brothers. I also love the Smash Brothers community. I think the Smash Brothers community is so fun. I pitched the idea to a bunch of content creators, but none of them bit, and I also understand this year is kind of crazy, but I want to do at some point in my stream career, I want to do a Smash for charity where we all play Super Smash Brothers Brawl and raise. So, and I wanted to do it specifically at TwitchCon, but like it doesn't have to be. I think it would be fun because people like seeing play Smash Brothers.
I mean, a good example is fighting games, which had this huge dark age in the early 2000s, right? But after a viral clip from Evo of that Daigo parry happening, right, Street Fighter 3 became this huge underground phenomenon that just kept growing and growing, and eventually the community started to get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it ended up revitalizing the entire fighting game genre when Street Fighter.
I got that, and I got Tekken 6. I think I got the Street Fighter 5 with the arcade pad.
4 came back, and now all of a sudden you have this giant fighting game ecosystem once again. Now that brought along with it the competitive subculture. Fighting games were really, really instrumental in helping grow Twitch in the early days and like online streaming, and a bunch of new games and communities have built off of just that momentum, letting
Guilty Gear. Where's BlazBlue?
people rock. So look, it has tangible benefits, and this movement, specifically Stop Killing Games, was starting to gain steam, albeit slowly, until it crossed paths with Pirate Software. Pirate Software, or Thor as a lot of people call him, right, is a former member of the games industry who used to work at Blizzard for a short period of time, right, until he became a streamer who kind of delves into commentary about the games industry and other cultural subtopics that may come up. Now, Thor took issue with this initiative, saying that it actually hurts live service games and developers, calling out the language behind the movement and saying that Stop Killing Games targeted single-player games made unplayable by server shutdowns, but the phrasing of how the initiative was framed would actually blanket all live service games and essentially create undue burden by forcing all of the publishers of those games to keep them online and functioning indefinitely. But here's the thing, Ross Scott, the founder of Stop Killing Games, stated that Pirate Software actually misconstrued the whole point of the movement and was lying about what the movement was actually entailing. Number one, the goal wasn't to keep game servers online forever. It was to ask game developers to implement an offline mode or to offer support for player-run /private servers. Just to let you know, that was actually a common practice in a lot of older PC games, right? So it would make sense to shift to that. As well, a majority of the movement, right, was about being clear about the digital ownership rights behind these games, not to create undue burdens on other game developers or publishers. But even with this clarification, Pirate Software doubled down, saying, on the developer side, I have been in a constant battle with the people online for nearly a decade, trying to inform them how difficult it is to make and release video games. The idea that any of these technical hurdles are easy to overcome and would be simple to implement is the exact kind of thing I've been fighting. Hold on. When I bring up the issue of leaving online-only games in a functional, playable state after sunsetting, I am always met with responses diminishing the effort needed to do that. This is not a simple hurdle to overcome, and that's exactly why I don't like this initiative. You can't leave these challenges up to a figure-it-out mentality, and you can't diminish the work of those on the dev side just because you want it your way. With all due respect...
No, it's for the lawmakers to decide. It's not for the public. The lawmakers have to come together with like different things to figure out what is the best way to handle in the fairest way. That's not for... It's not figuring out, it's working out in court.
Way to miss the fucking point. First off, nobody is saying this is an easy change that you could just snap your fingers and automatically it just happens. We are saying, though, that it is a feature that should be prioritized for implementation because the problem has been growing over the last few years into a significant problem that does have the ability to be solved. Will it require reallocating some priorities? Yeah, probably, but consistently strawmanning and not addressing the material concern, which is how do we leave games in a functional state, is disingenuous work. And again, it's not like there aren't models about how this has been implemented before that other publishers can look to and adopt. And furthermore, and this kind of pisses me off, you're not the only person with experience working with game devs, Thor. Hi, motherfucker. Game developers are not all jumping for joy at the live service model, right? And many of them worry about the instability of that model specifically because of this, because their hard work gets sunset. Many developers get frustrated when their games get pulled offline. That makes it harder to secure work because at times it's hard to find records of some of these games. I would fucking know. I was having multiple conversations with people about this in 2022 and 2023. As many live service games started to get killed off, you may not think it is a big deal that employers cannot find the work that people are putting on their resumes, but the people who are trying to secure those jobs with very material experience do find that as a big deal, as it has cost them opportunities. Anyway, Thor's comments actually effectively killed momentum on the Stop Kill Games initiative as he misrepresented it. And this caught the eye of multiple creators, including Moist Critical, who called out Thor. And once again, Thor doubled down, unable to take any sort of criticism, effectively framing it like Moist Critical actually was out of pocket, publicly calling him out. But then you had other creators like Jacksepticeye and Mudahar also come to the movement's defense, and miraculously, Stop Killing Games was raised back from life support, with signatures for the initiative now hitting over 1 million. And there is a possibility, I have to say, that some of these signatures may be fake. That's not great because it is a governmental process, the way they're pushing this through. But the support for the movement is very real, and the support continues to come in, and it does seem like there will be a tangible number of required signatures to get this across the line. And if you want my opinion about all of this, I think it's important to make sure that a lot of these things,
I still think if you haven't signed it and you live in the sign for like the E, and I think the other ones today, please do still sign it, even though you think they just in case are not valid. Continue to sign. The more signatures, the better. They're just the requirements.
things are preserved, right? I think leaving things in a functional state is great because it helps grow culture and art and so many other things. Lost media kind of sucks. I like us having our media as time capsules so we can understand the times they were made and kind of learn from them and kind of interpolate them into different things. But I have two specific frustrations. One, look, I don't think Pirate Software is a person with ill intent in this situation who wants to sabotage games and consumers and make them remain as a live service, right? Okay, I don't think that's his goal. But I do think that he has a streak of narcissism that he needs to fucking check a little bit. Again, don't flatten the responses from all developers into one little box like, oh, it makes it harder for them and publishers, right? I have heard countless times over the years the frustration as games get taken offline directly from developers that I have worked with. Everyone from the leads on projects to the art designers to the combat designers to the community managers. So many people, right, get so frustrated when all of that work just evaporates, right? And many people would love to have ammo like this so that the things that they work on can stay alive. An enormous issue in this industry,
yeah, because you can't really put something on your resume that doesn't exist anymore,
is hopping from gig to gig, and even large wins that suddenly just fucking disappear. And those calling cards not existing anymore make it harder for a lot of rank and file to get work. Look, I have had to deal with that at times in my career. And while I am fortunate enough to be in a position where within the industry I can still have big projects that exist in perpetuity today that I can call towards, some people I know are still being directly affected by this, right? With a lot of their work just being poofed out of existence, and that being another added burden in an already tough job marketplace. And I don't want to hear any fucking dismissing like, oh, well, they're just not that good. Motherfucker, there are a lot of fucking talented people who have this fucking issue, right? Again, don't fucking flatten it. I take issue with somebody who worked on threat detection and app security, trying to pull rank about development issues and silence people like he's the smartest fucking person in the room. Because again, you are not the only person who has experience working on big games. And furthermore, you are not the only one who understands the logistics behind budget, development, and publishing with these decisions. The smallest amount of humility would go a long fucking way, right? And I swear to God, I wish the streaming space just got a little bit of it. The amount of fucking streamers who just talk out the side of their mouth about stuff they know tangential things about is enormous. Instead, I guess they just love to die on these hills because God forbid they're human and are wrong occasionally. All right? Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll leave a link to Stop Killing Games in the description below.
Okay, all right. Oh, I hit the wrong button. Well, right. So it's me hitting the wrong.
About that time, eh, chaps?
About that time.
Righto.
I get out of here for the night. I'm getting tired. Thank you all for hanging out. It was a fun night. I appreciate it. Tomorrow is Monday, so I will be here tomorrow, but Tuesday I am off. Don't forget to check out all the links. Don't forget to all the other stuff. I am tired. Anyway, have a great night. Bye, everybody.